What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to another MCC video. I am your host, Mr. Seapeekay, and today we are delving into the battlefield that is the MCC subreddit to find out what the people of MCC subreddit want to see in the Season 2 of Minecraft Championship. I also realized I said battlefield, which makes it sound like a bad place. It's actually super friendly. If you're not already in the MCC Reddit, I will leave a link and I suggest you go and check it out. These things are in absolutely no order. I just scrolled through and I picked a bunch of ideas that I liked, and I'm going to talk about the idea, talk about whether or not I think it could work, and whether or not I think it could be implemented. And the footage in the background is just some random MCC footage that I had already. So please enjoy that. Leave a like if you're new. Subscribe to get this channel to 30K. This channel's moving at the minute. We're enjoying it, all right? A lot of people that watch aren't subbed, so make sure to check it out. And let's get into the video. So the first idea I saw came from Pikeman Is Not Me, who said some sort of system that makes games that haven't been played recently appear more often and earlier in the decision dome. Now, I love this idea. As someone who loves to play some of the games that don't get picked very frequently, it would be super fun to have a way to have them be played more often. Obviously, the number one thing right now is survival games. Survival games just does not get picked, like ever. So having a way to make that happen would be incredible. I know obviously it's based on what the players want to play, but maybe changing up the order that the games come into the decision dome could be a way to ensure that games get played more often. But at the same time, one of the things that I love most about MCC is that the randomness of the games that are chosen is what makes it so unique. So I don't doubt there's times when people have tried to vote survival games, but the chickens have walked out. Or that they've tried to vote survival games and all the chickens have been burnt to a crisp in that segment by one of the power-up items. So overall, I do think this is something that could be very interesting. I would love to see it tested at the very least. It would be cool to just see some of the different games earlier on. They did actually try to encourage people to pick games that have had updates and stuff, which isn't exactly what we're trying to fix here. But you guys will remember that now in MCC, when a game has had an update, there'll be a little yellow segment because it's had something done to it. I think that worked for maybe the first couple of times, but if the change isn't super significant, people are still going to avoid it. And that's why we don't get any survival games anymore. And you know what? Survival game supremacy, all right? Bring it back. We need more SG. We need more SG. The next idea comes from Kusai no Deshi, and I'm probably going to butcher everyone's usernames in this. And it says, I don't know if anyone suggested it, but I would love an escape room type of game. The whole team would join forces to try and solve puzzles and complete the room. Coins would be awarded based on time and not placement, as it feels the most fair. Maybe it could be based on time and also give extra coins for placing higher. It would be a practical way to introduce redstone into the competition, which is one of the only aspects of the game yet to be seen. The players could pick roles/classes like in BattleBox that allow them to do specific tasks that other players in the team can't, so as the whole, the team would need to cooperate. Let me first say, I do quite like the idea, and I think I've seen this idea thrown around the Reddit a few times. People have suggested that they want redstone-based games, or even the escape room idea has been thrown around a little bit as well. And I don't think it's something that couldn't be done. I mean, let's not forget that Scott Major, S Major, you know, the MCC organizer, actually has a series on his channel where he has YouTubers escape from escape rooms. And some of them are pretty complex, some of them are a little easier, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that a game like this could be made. However, there was a couple of things I wasn't sure on with this. I don't think I like the idea of picking roles and classes, because in terms of an escape room, you wouldn't necessarily have a class. I've done a few escape rooms in real life, and it is a lot about team communication. You can't do a lot of the things on your own. So if I'm looking at, let's say I'm looking at coordinates on a map, I've then got to shout them to someone else so that they can do something. I don't think there'd necessarily need to be roles to enforce that everyone is involved, because I think an escape room would naturally give that feel. Now, the only thing is, it depends how heavy the redstone is, because I don't feel like redstone is like other things. Like parkour, I can get better at just by, you know, practicing parkour. Redstone is like quite complex in its, you know, finer forms. And I do feel like it's a very difficult thing to learn and requires a lot more grinding than perhaps learning something like parkour would. Or at least maybe that's just for me. I personally feel that. Maybe that's just because I don't understand redstone. I'm not too sure. But I like the idea of the game, and I think that it could be implemented. and it sounds like a fun game mode, very up MCC street. I mean, they always like to have like fun and wacky game modes, but I don't know if it has a place right now, but I do enjoy the idea of an escape room. The third idea came from Fear the Gods 1119, and I think it's an idea we can all get behind. A Captain Sparkles win. That's right. That's what we need in MCC Season 2. You know, we just need a big old Captain Sparkles win. He has to break the third place curse. Will he get given the most OP team of all time? Does he want to do it with a fair team? Nobody knows, but I'm sure we'll find out one day. And I believe Season 2 will be the time when Captain Sparkles gets his win. I believe. Any believers in the video right now? Believers in the comments. The next idea comes from Bottled Enigmas, who says, I would like to see different Minecraft communities mix more. I get that people want to play with their friends, but it's always so fun to see the Dream SMP people mix with the hermits, or older creators mix with the younger ones. I'm sure it wouldn't cause much of a problem for some of the more outgoing members of each group to get paired up with each other, and let us see some new dynamics. It's getting a bit too grouped solely by community, and this would also allow new connections to be formed amongst players. Also, I want you to get top 10, Seapeekay. You've worked so hard and you deserve it. Well, first of all, thank you. I will get top 10 in Season 2. If I don't, I will quit MCC forever. This is an interesting one because this comes down to the organizer, not so much the actual like players here. Now, the thing is that you've got to understand, I know you're saying that some of the more outgoing players might be fine with it, but there's also a huge amount of people who wouldn't be fine with it. And let's say that there's a team of 4 hermits, and one of the hermits is okay with going to a different team because they're very outgoing. That then means that someone else has to go in with the hermits, meaning that then goes from being one person being comfortable with a new group to 3 people potentially being uncomfortable with one person. And that's in no way saying that's the hermits specifically. It was just the example given. So whilst I do understand that it is easier for outgoing people to team with whoever, I love being on new teams of people. I think one of the most fun parts of MCC is just getting to meet new people. I've made so many friends. So many creators that I looked up to when I was starting YouTube, I can now call friends, and I get to play with all of the new up-and-coming like Minecraft talents. It's a really cool event for that, but not everyone is as comfortable, and that's something that I'm sure you guys already know. So I think the worst thing that could happen is forced interaction. Whilst yes, I agree it's cool to see members of the Dream SMP mix with other people, if they want to specifically play with people from the Dream SMP, then they may just be, you know, in the event less often because they can't fit to have a certain amount of people in a certain team in. It's the same with the Simmers. The Simmers, I think now the Simmers would be more open to teaming with other people, but I know originally the Simmers just wanted to team with the Simmers, which is why they couldn't feature in every single MCC, because they take up one whole team, whereas if they were spreading out into 4 different teams, it's easier to place a single person. So again, cool idea. I do want to see some more interactions as well, because I personally think they're very fun, but it has to be done within each individual player's boundaries, and that's not something that anyone can really affect. Idea number 5 came from MadLad69, the best username so far. They said 2 MCCs a month, 1 casual and 1 competitive. I mainly want this because the Jingle Jam MCC was very fun to watch, and it was interesting to see how teams made of completely new players adapted to the event. A big issue with MCC is that there are so many players that would like to join, but for every new player that joins, an old player has to be left out. Having 2 MCCs would allow more players to join without old players missing out. Having a casual MCC would make the top 10 much more varied, and it would give the underrated players their chance in the spotlight. I think this is something that's been thrown around quite a lot. People have, you know, been asked would they play in 2 MCCs if it was a thing. I'm sure a lot of people would love for there to be 2 MCCs. And I think the first thing, there's a few issues I have with this. I personally don't think there should be 2. Or maybe there could be 2 every now and again, but not all the time. Now, my reasons for that are, the first one is an easy one. Number 1, Nox Crew does this for free. Okay, so the Nox Crew and Scott don't make any money from MCC. And it takes a phenomenal amount of work. I don't even know the amount of work, but I would assume it is huge to have all these mini games running properly, you know, have the whole lobby set up so it's running in the correct way. They have it tested a bunch. They come up with new games. You know, they're constantly refreshing it, and they're doing it for free. They don't make any money right now. And I would assume there is quite a decent overhead cost on doing these things. You know, the Nox Crew make a whole bunch of maps and stuff for the marketplace. You know, whilst that's something that makes them money, that would be something that, in my head, business-wise, would have to remain their priority. It's impossible for them to be working on 2 MCCs in a month and still keeping them both fresh and updated and running smoothly. I feel personally. I could be wrong. And maybe someone from the Nox Crew can jump in and answer that question in the comments here. Who knows? The second thing for me would be, like, creator burnout. I mean, I love MCC, and MCC practice streams are amongst my most viewed streams ever. And I can't wait to have MCC back so that I can do some practice streams, because it's going to be a lot of fun. However, if there were MCCs all the time, then it might be one of those things that like I don't feel as inspired to play. And then obviously the line comes between casual and competitive. I mean, I consider myself a competitive player, but then some of the people who score lower may still consider themselves competitive, but would they be forced to take part in the casual tournament? And if so, would they have to practice for both, not knowing which one they're going to be in? I don't like the idea of splitting casual and competitive. I think it's too hard a line to make without insulting people. So again, that's another reason for me. I don't think that the 2 MCCs would work. And the final reason is that I think having one a month keeps that air of excitement and exclusivity to the event. You know, people are so excited because there is only one a month. If there's 2 a month, people might be less inclined to watch a certain one because they're like, oh, it's okay, I can just catch the next one. It's only in 2 weeks. You know, that would mean an MCC every 2 weeks, which is insane. I feel like keeping it to 1 month keeps this air of like exclusivity. A couple of weeks is the perfect amount of time to build hype for an event. There would be no time to hype between events. There would basically constantly be teams being announced for each MCC. The MCC Twitter would be just full of like team announcements at all times. They'd have no time to concentrate on making one truly special event. So whilst I appreciate the idea of 2 MCCs, I personally think that 1 is definitely the way to keep going. Idea 6 comes from Happy Troll 98, who says, by far the biggest thing I want in Season 2 is more teams. I think that boosting the number of teams to 12 or 14 would allow for less fan bases to be unhappy that their guy isn't in MCC. In my opinion, someone like Illumina shouldn't have to be on the waiting list for that long. Now, this is something that I think everybody has wanted, everybody has spoken about, and I think the only reason this hasn't happened is that it's very difficult to set up logistically. I mean, everything in the event is built for the amount of people that it's built for now, right? So we have 10 teams. If you just add an extra 2 teams, everything has to be remodeled. The Decision Dome alone would be a huge change already, because they would have to add extra pods for people to stand in while they vote. And then certain minigames would have to be modified. I mean, already the hole in the wall map is very clustered. I know that people are invisible now, so it makes it much better. But imagine an extra 8 players on there, or in the most extreme example that we were given, an extra 16 players. Now, I agree that I would love more teams. I would love there to be 12 teams or 14 teams. It means that more people could get involved. Obviously, a big thing with MCC is everybody wants new players all the time. But for new players to get in, old players have to be dropped for an event. And that like sucks. As someone who has missed an event because there wasn't a space for me one time, it really sucks. And whilst I was like, it's okay because someone else gets to take part and I get to be in pretty much all of them, it really sucked to not get to take part just because there wasn't a spot available, right? And I know I'm not going to be the only one that feels like that. MCC is my favorite thing that I do on Minecraft now. And 100% I would be gutted if I couldn't get in. So I do agree that having 12 or 14 teams would be great. But in regards to the final comment of someone like Illumina shouldn't have to be on the waiting list for that long, I don't really think people should skip the waiting list just because of their just because of who they are. I see that you're saying like Illumina is really good and should have been able to get in quicker. You know, there's an air of there's a huge list. I don't know how many people are on this list. Obviously, I'm good friends with Scott, and I know we've spoken about the wait list before. My guess is there's 50 plus creators on that wait list. That's my guess. Plus, there's some old players who probably want to come back in. And then there's the current players who don't want to miss out on events. You know, I think for me, it's my favorite thing to do and I love to prepare for it. I'm sure that's the same for a lot of the other creators as well, because you get constant content and then a really fun event at the end of it. Who knows? Maybe they are taking this huge downtime because they actually want to add more teams. I personally don't think it's something that would happen, but they are taking this big break. You know, it's been a couple of months. It's been over a month already. And we have no idea when it's coming back yet. My prediction is sometime in like March or April, because, you know, I doubt it's going to happen in February, or else we would know about it by now. Meaning that it gives them all of February to potentially announce a date. If we haven't heard by the middle of February, I think it's safe to assume that it's probably going to be in April. I want them to take as much time as it takes to make this event the best it can be. Whether that's 10 teams, 12 teams, 14 teams, I don't care. I just want MCC back. Who's with me? Idea 7 comes from Wolfie, who says, I've personally been wanting to see testers make an appearance in one of the events. Some of the testers genuinely have good entertainment potential, so it'd be funny. We're also pretty good, I guess. Wolfie, a tester. Or an ex-tester, I'm not too sure. I'm guessing based on their flair, they're still a tester. This has always been another point of contention. I think the biggest one that I see is people requesting that Fire Breath Man be added to MCC. Now, the point is that they've had so much practice on MCC's games that they would be way too good. right? Like, I think the coin record in the tests is something like 5,500 coins, which is way over anything we've ever had in the actual MCC. And obviously, there's probably a bigger skill gap between the testers than there is between the actual players of MCC. However, the argument is always that the MCC testers would have an unfair advantage coming into it as a team of people who have got to play multiple times a month before the event. Now, the thing with X testers is I don't see the issue as much. For me, if you haven't been a tester for like 3 or 4 months, then I don't see there's a reason that you couldn't necessarily be in the event. Yes, you'll still have had a lot of practice, but you also haven't played it in a few months. And if you were to come back and still be good at the games, that's likely down to the fact that you are just good at the game, not that you've got to practice the mini games a bunch. So I do think there are a place for X testers, given a certain time period, but I do think it's unfair to have current testers play in the event. I'm not sure how many tests they do per month, but my educated guess would be maybe 2 or 3. Again, I could be totally wrong, but my guess is 2 or 3 tests leading up to the event. So if a tester got to be in the event, they would already have played the mini games so much that they would have massive amounts of practice. They would also know about the changes coming to games before anyone else would, meaning that they'd actually have a chance to practice. So things like parkour tag, we find out the map on the day, basically, or like on the Friday right before. They would already know what the new map was going to be, assuming that they tested on it. So same goes for Battle Box. They'd know about the item selections and stuff. So I do think it's a tough one. I think there is a place for X testers. I don't think there's a place for current testers. That's how I feel about the whole situation. Next up for idea 8 is Shiny Samuel, who says, a new Ace Race map with less mechanics at any given time to minimize bugs. It's annoying seeing the streamers I watch get a little tilted at Ace Race bugs and glitches, most prominently Pete in MCC 13. He had a few glitches and other mistakes spread throughout that made it pretty bad watching experience for his viewers, as he was tilted for almost the entire game and went from really liking the game to being very bitter about his mistakes. These bugs are caused by lots of custom mechanics used at once. The most common glitches are the Elytra cutting off, the one block trident glitch, and the Elytra infinite flight glitch. A few other bugs can be tridents not working because of the small amount of server lag and glitching on the bottom of a block. I understand what you're saying here, and I'm under the impression, and I could be wrong, again, maybe I've got to reach out to the Nox crew and get them to put in their 2 cents on this. From what I understand, a lot of it is the mixture of custom mechanics with vanilla Minecraft not liking what is happening. The thing that makes Ace Race so unique is the almost Mario Kart-esque power-ups, right? We got like jump pads, we got speed boosts, we have Elytra flight rings. There's so much cool stuff. And with that, I think there is going to come some bugs. Now, I think if you were to look at the amount of people affected by bugs overall versus the amount of people who aren't, it is a very small minority. I know some of the bugs are completely game-breaking, and I'm sure Nox crew know that. And I'm sure if it was as easy as, well, let's just fix it, they would. You know, Scott, the event organizer, got the infinite flight glitch where he could fly over the whole map, but because he missed a checkpoint, it then meant that he actually didn't finish the lap and ended up coming almost last place, or potentially even last place. That's the event organizer. Of course, he's going to be annoyed about it, so if he could have had that changed, I'm sure they would have, right? The thing is that I think Ace Race without the power-ups or without heavy mechanics is just foot race, and we got rid of foot race for a reason. It's a legacy game for a reason. For me, it was probably my least favorite game. It didn't seem really like it was based on whether or not I was skillful. It seemed like it was, did I get smacked into the void randomly at the start? And if I did, well, then I'm gonna come last. Like, you know, there's no way around it. I can't stop other people from like punching me off the map. There's only so much I can do. So whilst I see what you're saying, for me, I just come into MCC, into Ace Race, understanding that there may well be a problem. You know, that something might go wrong here. And in fact, I've had the glitch multiple times where I'm stuck in the trident animation, which does make things very difficult. But if you come at it with the right attitude, and I'm not saying that people don't come at it with the right attitude, I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone. For me, I just come into it with an open mind and like, oh, if something goes wrong, something goes wrong. There's not much I can do. It's what happens in this game mode, potentially. I just take it with a pinch of salt. If it goes wrong and it ruins my event, it's not going to be the end of the world. I just have an excuse for why I didn't do well. So, you know, I'm sure it's something that they're working on, trying to make it less buggy, but I'm not sure there's much that can be done without taking away the essence of Ace Race. Idea number 9 comes from Oriba Haitsu64, who said, I'm sure it's been said before, but I'd love some Decision Dome edits. I think its randomness is vital and the part of the fun, but for the chickens to be able to fully walk from one side to the other defeats the point of voting for me. Having them being able to move into options either side is good, as it ensures you choose the game with better other options, but also ensures your choice matters and throwing of the egg isn't just performative. So essentially, I think slower chickens would be fun, or maybe a short possible travel distance. Also, delete the Uno reverse card. Another thing for the decision dome to deal with the games left unplayed for long periods of time would be to have specific rounds like the audience vote, dedicated specifically to play the least voted game, although I'm not fully sure on this one. If the players don't want to play a game, I don't want to force anyone to play it. So as good as certain games are, I wouldn't be opposed to letting games stay unplayed. Looking forward to your video, Seapeekay. Well, thank you, and you made it into the video. Now, this is an interesting one for me, because I do feel like the egg throw is just performative. Like, they could just let us press a button that votes, and that would do the same job for me. I don't like or dislike the randomness of the decision dome. I think that a big problem comes from a lot of creators will throw their eggs really early and then not like that their chicken has moved. And like, if you just wait until the last couple of seconds, you really can just throw your chickens in and it's going to go pretty much exactly where you threw it, you know, almost every single time. Which I guess, you know, takes out some of the randomness, but also does ensure that you're going to get the games that you want and not the games that you don't want, which is a big part of MCC. People want to play the games they want to play, you know? I like your idea of having it only be able to move to the left or the right, because then you're more likely to select a game with better games around it instead of risking. Like, you know, some people might really want Build Mart, but if it's surrounded by survival games and battle box, maybe they won't want to pick it because they really don't want the PvP games. So I like the idea. I disagree with delete the Uno reverse card. I think the Uno reverse card is probably one of the funniest things in the event. I think it still confuses a lot of people, myself included sometimes. So yeah, I don't think they need to get rid of the Uno reverse card. I actually think the power-ups keep the game very interesting. And onto your final point here, another thing for the decision dome to deal with the games left unplayed for long periods of time will be having specific rounds like the audience vote dedicated specifically to play the least voted game. I like that idea. The problem for me is, as much as I understand how important the community vote is, the audience vote is, I don't like the audience vote because it's not really an audience vote. It's I mean, it is an audience vote, but it's more who tells their viewers to vote for something the most. And I'm sure that means they like the game as well. You know, obviously it becomes a big Twitter off between a few of the biggest creators in the event. I, for one, don't even really take part in the audience vote because there is no point in me getting people to vote because it's such a negligible amount of people versus the huge amount that will vote from, say, Dream, Techno, Tommy Innit. Now, changing it to be the least voted game would be played has made a huge difference, and I think that's a really good change to the audience vote. I'm not sure how it would work in the decision dome. I think the decision dome should be purely done the way it is. I like exactly how it's set up. I don't think there needs to be a change personally, but I do see what you're saying, and I'd love to hear what other people in the comments have to say about this as well. I think that'd be very interesting. And that's everything I pulled, guys, that wasn't just on the Reddit to say things like add this player and add this player. A lot of requests for people like Purpled, Ranboo, everyone like that getting into the event. And I'm sure we're going to see some new faces pop up in MCC Season 2. Hopefully we'll see some old faces come back as well. Who knows? Let me know what you guys thought about anything that's been said here. I would love to have a discussion with you guys in the comment section. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you thought on the things that I said in this video and whether you agree or not. But let's keep it civil. Don't be disrespectful, guys. I want this to be a fun place where we can all chat about MCC without it getting toxic. So let's keep it chill. Have a good chat. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next MCC analysis and history video.